Thank you all. I'll start now with the 30-second questions. And will we start with Charles?
Let's go to Charles.
Okay. Charles, do you believe the unborn deserve the full protection of law, and why?
I hope I understand your question. Do I believe they have the full effect of the law? Yeah, but the law says they can be aborted up till the third trimester.
Tom, what involvement have you had to date with the pro-life cause?
Nothing.
Okay. Frederick, how about answering that same question?
I don't have sex with women.
Okay. Liz, we'll move on. Do you think a woman has the right to choose what to do with her body? And if so, how does this position fit with your position on life?
Absolutely not. I have 2 daughters. I have 7 children, 2 daughters, 5 sons. And it would be a tragedy, but it would create a greater tragedy. And I can say that from my own experience in looking out at the young women and going to the Right to Life March and listening to the silent no more groups. There is nothing more sacred than life, from conception to natural death. And for us to think less of anyone because of a disability, because of how they look, or what their handicaps are, or whether or not they're unwanted, is off and totally immoral.
Terrence, do you think a woman has the right to choose what to do with her body? And if so, how does that fit with your position on life?
Your body is your responsibility. You are a temple. You've got to keep everything nice and clean. If you are pregnant, you've got to go through the full term, and that is how it is, period. And do something correctly that makes you feel good that you should be doing. And you've got to talk to the Almighty in the first place when you finally need Him. I might bounce around, but that's okay.
Paula, should abortion providers working in Fort Wayne be held to the same standards as other surgeons? Why or why not?
Yes, they should, and that references the legislation that the county commissioners passed. The standard is that hospital admitting privileges, so if something goes wrong, that patient can't be seen and has a point of contact. I mean, that's the most horrifying thing, that we have people coming into our community, practicing medicine, and then abandoning their patients. That is just, it's a heartbreaking process, and I count myself as blessed that it was never an issue for me. I think that putting that protection in place by prohibiting, making sure that those people who might actually enter into that practice of abortion would have to have a relationship in the hospitals, in the community. It's just one more thing we can do to make it a little bit harder to allow abortions to happen in our community.
Thank you. Eric, you may be aware that chemical abortions are now available in Fort Wayne. What legal requirements should chemical abortion providers be held to, and what other thoughts do you have on addressing this practice in our city?
Well, I must admit that I do not know all of the things that are available to us to restrict chemical abortions, but I think one of the things that you would clearly do as a mayor is make sure that that you were well researched and doing everything you could do to make sure that everything was complying legally. Again, the law of the land is such that a mayor doesn't have a lot of control over whether abortions can or cannot occur. The Supreme Court has taken that decision away from the states, and as such away from mayors. So it's a little challenging. At the same time, you can make sure that people comply.
Fred, what is your position on embryonic stem cell research?
I believe that there is enough embryos that they can, not embryos, enough stem cells that can be obtained to do anything that they need to do. I don't think that abortion is right. I firmly believe in pro-life, and I don't think that there's any necessity for the stem cells that are gotten from an abortion.
Thank you. Charles, if you would answer that same question, what is your position on embryonic stem cell research?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I just happened to have something that hope you can understand this because I have a hard time understanding it. Researchers at Advanced Cell Technology, led by Robert Lanza, reported the successful derivation of a stem cell line using a process similar to pre-implantation genetic diagnosis in which a single blastomere is extracted from a blastocyst, and this process does not destroy the parent embryo. So I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Tom, should abortion providers working in Fort Wayne be held to the same standards as other surgeons? Why or why not?
I don't want to answer the question because I don't feel that if you're not in a hospital and you're not, you're just doing it out of some business like that, I don't think it should be allowed. I'll be honest with you. So my answer to that is if you're not in a hospital like St. Joe Lutheran or something like that, I don't think they should be allowed to do where they like that.
Frederick, would you be willing to check with the Allen County Department of Health on a regular basis to make certain reporting requirements for abortion providers in Fort Wayne are being met?
Yes.
Okay. Liz, why don't you answer that same question? Would you be willing to check with the Allen County Department of Health on a regular basis to make certain reporting requirements for abortion providers in Fort Wayne are being met?
Yes, but I'd go one step further. Even though the Allen County Fort Wayne Health Department isn't really under the purview of the mayor, I would make sure that they're enforcing the laws, because I don't think that abortionists in the city are held to the same standards, even though they have to have admitting privileges. And I would be interested to see if they really could pass medical boards in this state and what kind of quality of care they were giving.
Thank you. I can conclude there, Ryan.
All right, Amanda, thank you. We will go to our closing statements now. Continuing through Tom Cook, you will have the first closing statement, we should say. 2 minutes for each candidate. We'll start with Tom Cook and finish then with Charles.
Well, let me get my eyes on here. I guess when you get over 40, I guess you need eyes and you get fat. So anyway, my name is Tom Cook and I'm running for mayor. I'm ready for a change in local government. I'll bet you are too. I'm tired of seeing politicians spending millions of our tax dollars on projects hoping to make their name something for themselves, while unpaid debts continue to go unpaid, keep piling up. Isn't it time we paid off what we owe and quit piling up new debts? I am not a career politician. This is my second time running for mayor, and it won't be my last as long as I'm still able to do it. And as if you want to see some changes done and you want a common person to run the city, then you can vote for me because I'm as common as can be. And I'm not, I don't have very much money, and I'm not working on very much with those politicians as a politician. But I guarantee you that I watch where that money's going. Because these politicians today don't care where the money's going as long as they make their little check. And they wake up in the morning and go to work. They just think it's a job. That's all they think it is. So as for me, I would not think it's a job. You voted me in, I work for you. And if that's what you need, then vote for me. Thank you.
And that's pretty much how I feel too. If you're going to put me in office, I'm going to work for you. There's lots of things the city has to be done. The infrastructure of this city is poor. We have neighborhoods with boarded up and abandoned houses that haven't been fixed up in 21 years. I moved here from Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1990. And these houses have been boarded up and sitting vacant. That could be affordable housing for people that need housing. There is no reason for this. We've spent money galore on things like Harrison Square. Harrison Square is still not done. I sat in city council the evening Harrison Square was voted in. I asked Greg Leatherman and the city attorney, do you have any financial documentation for any of this? And they said no.
They had no financial documentation whatsoever. So we have squandered money, left over fist, and it's about time we stopped.
Issues like the gambling lobbyists that we've hired and the casino issue are one of the reasons I'm running for mayor. The mayor that we have now in office has spent a lot of our dollars pursuing that when we were opposed to it, when it wasn't good for the city, and it's the kind of thing he does without permission of council. It's not something we have control over as we sit on city council now. So that's the kind of thing that a new mayor would not do, would not pursue those issues, and that's why that's an important issue. And that's something I'm sure that Mayor Henry will try to pursue again, because he feels that that is the way to bring economic development, to have gambling and probably more crime in the city. Things like the transgender ordinance are another thing. I'm sure that some of our council members who sit on there currently will bring it back, and as I said before, Tom Henry said if the law passed through city council, he would support it. That flies in the face of what values we have in the city of Fort Wayne. When I moved here, people told me this was called the city of churches. And our families, the family values that accompany them are important. Laws like this transgendered law rip apart those family values and impose other people's values on the values that we hold. And finally, our final question, obviously I am very pro-life. I am the mother of 7 children. I am passionate about trying to stem the onslaught, if you will, of the slaughter. I remember distinctly sitting in the back of the room when I was in law school when we discussed Roe v. Wade, and my friends to this day from law school will remind me that that was the most uncomfortable time for them, and they wished I'd given them a heads up before I asked the questions of my constitutional law professor, Martha Shamalis, who I will remember to this day. We didn't see eye to eye on the Roe v. Wade issue. It is a law, but it's not set in stone, and it can be changed. And if we all work towards that, it will happen. Arizona passed a law this week that outlaws abortion for the selection of sex and race. We are on the path, we are on the downward slope, but we just have to continue to fight. Thank you.
Yes, sorry. I believe that our dear city is playing with too many bandages. We need to cure the wound. We have too many committees on top of committees. We also have these engineers, we get 6 of them, that are being paid $40,000 a piece to do work or not to do work. That is not right, it's wasting money. We had a lot of projects in the past. We spent $1 million on Calhoun to make a shopping center. We got the plan for that, it's $1 million. Where is it? In some drawer of some sort. We got Kitty Hawk. We put that thing together. We paid with incentives, and these people went out, and the poor people that was working there, they don't have a job. Oh yeah, we'll create jobs, maybe about 2 years of it, but then when we'll leave, because we got the money, people used to go. That's how the city works. They're always going to have a committee, and it's about time to stop their silly committees. And so when they do not their job at the city, it's about time to have them taken out and have someone that knows how to work. In other words, impeach them because they are of the city. I believe that the mayor should actually know the council, and the council should know the mayor. It's always separate entities. It's about time we know each other together.
Well, I'm going to start with thank yous to the organizations that made this possible tonight. County Right to Life, Indiana Family Institute, and Coalition for Better Fort Wayne. And most especially, we have to thank Kathy Humbarger. I mean, the tireless efforts and in a full range of activities in this community, you have changed the community, and you deserve our recognition for that. I don't think it happens often enough. And I really appreciate this chance to come tonight, because it gave me a chance to show you some of the things you don't normally see on the campaign trail. I don't have a chance to show the heart and spirit that motivate me to serve the community, and the faith that underlies everything that I do. It's a big part of my life. A lot of folks just don't know that about me necessarily. I have this blue ribbon on my wrist, and it's been there since last fall when I put it on during a Beth Moore Bible study. It was part of the challenge of the 9 weeks to wear something to mark your faith. And I kept it on because I knew I was coming into a challenging time in my life. And it's part of the faith journey, and this ribbon reminds me that God is with me as I go through it. And I want to share with you a Bible passage that I read on a daily basis, and it's helped me through this time. I think may be of use to you. I keep it on a Rolodex. I think that's a target. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great crowd of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. And that's Hebrews 12:1. And I think it will serve us all. So thank you for the chance tonight, and I'm glad to know you a little bit.
I just want to thank each of you for coming again. It's a real privilege to be with each of these people here. It's a real privilege to see you. And I talked earlier about the direct connection between healthy families and economic development. And part of what we are doing is electing a mayor. And I think it's very important that we understand the qualifications of each person when we elect a mayor. And so I'm going to draw and just kind of twist things and say that we also know this, that when you have good economic development, you also can then help healthy families. What we know is that from statistics and studies is that when you have people in financial distress, it impacts marriages. It's a cyclical problem with marriage. And so when you look at running an organization the size of this city, it's roughly the equivalent of $1 billion, over 1,300 employee, 250,000 citizen, or I call them sometimes shareholders for the sake of the equivalency organization. It's a very large organization, very difficult to move the organization forward in a unified direction. And I think that the way that you do that is through thematic goals, and I have 3 thematic goals that we will have if I'm mayor. The first one is that we will create an environment of entrepreneurship and innovation. This will be an environment that we'll create not only in our government, where we will empower people to be innovative and creative, but also within our society and business community as we spur on innovation and creation. The second theme is that efficient and effective government must measure itself, set standards to see if they measure up to those standards, and be transparent with the results. And the third theme is that we must have a quality of life for everyone. And specifically, as I traveled this city, talked to over 300 people, and developed this city plan, it was clear to me that our 20 and 30-year-olds felt like there was nothing for them here. And those people are the people that are going to drive our economic engine, because they're the most likely to start businesses and grow them. And so one of the things you have to look at, this is an executive skill set, and it needs an executive skill set to run the city.
In closing, all I'm asking is that the citizens of Fort Wayne, when they go to vote in May, that they vote for the candidate that has the best qualifications and the most experience in the field of politics, and not vote for individuals because of the fact that they can raise huge amounts of money to have extended campaigns. Thank you.
That will bring our debate forum almost to a conclusion, because we have Travis. I was just getting ready for you.
This could go on.
You have the final word.
I'm a strong supporter in individual freedoms, and I would like to paraphrase what Spanish-American philosopher George Santayana said. Human actions have some purpose, and they always have a result. The purpose is one thing, and the result is another. The purpose of the moral right seems to be to promote their attempt to satisfy what appears to be the standards of their God. The result to those who are not of the religious right, including me, is often a cold, iron-fisted government regulation that impinges upon my freedom. God, nor the majority vote, should have a say on what I perceive to be my freedoms. In our constitutional government, I believe the individual supersedes the group. Individual freedoms are pristine and stand alone. Telling the public there is such a thing as moral clarity is to ignore the internal debates of all religious sects pertaining to doctrines. There is a vast ocean of complex gray area of thought that is the mixture of raw black and white ideas. To legislate this black and white concept of reality is a delusion and misguided. Does this nation of one God not have many voices and subtleties? These arguments are not won merely by holding this in a spiritual institution. In a war of thoughts and ideas, the king or ruler is the individual or one person, which in this case is myself. No rule, guideline, precept, law, or statute has the power to dictate to my hermetically sealed conscience. If a law steps in my conscience, I consider it trespassing. Thank you.
Charles, thank you. Let's have a round of applause for our 8 Mayoral candidates. One final word of thanks to Kathy Humbarger, Alva County Right to Life, and thanks to the Coalition for Better Fort Wayne, and thanks for being a great audience as well. Have a great night.